G'day everyone, it's Matt Rard here, your host of the Digital Investor Podcast. And today we're speaking to James Lacy. And the reason I've asked James to come onto this show is because James has a really interesting journey, particularly over the last couple of years, because he now earns his income online full-time off content websites. So like you listening to this, he's built up a couple of specific content sites. He makes money off AdSense and affiliate offers. But what's really interesting is James's professional background. He didn't start out like that. He's a professional coach, sports coach at an elite level, World Cup level. We're going to talk about that in a minute as well. But also, really interestingly, his wife is a professional athlete as well. So what I want to show you in this podcast is how you can use your specific industry experience or skills and transition to an online income. So James, thanks so much for coming along today and having a chat to our community about your, I'm going to build you up, mate, about your amazing success with your portfolio sites. I don't think you realize just what you've achieved there, but seriously, well done, because you now run these two, would you say realistically when you're doing, I guess, a portfolio strategy, right, with content sites. Realistically, though, it's come down to two main ones, hasn't it? That you're making the big money, well, good money off now to the point where you can transition and work from home and stuff like that. So, do you want to mention? Let's share with everyone straight up.
Okay.
What are your two websites?
So the two main ones, sweetscienceoffighting.com, and that's based on physical preparation for combat sports, and then liftbigeatbig.com is the site more focused on general fitness, but also strength sports. So like weightlifting, strongman, powerlifting, that kind of stuff. So yeah, those are the main big ones. And I've obviously got some other smaller ones on the site that don't make much at all.
Okay. Yeah. So, and that's fine. That's perfectly normal in a portfolio. So James, obviously your background then is strength and conditioning coaching at an elite level. So let's have a look at that, because whilst you these are these two sites that you're working on a lot now. So just so everyone understands the framework of this interview here. James and I met through another podcast. James interviewed me on the Niche Website Builders, which many of you would have heard about, and we're talking about content sites. And James was asking me about my experience with all of you guys that are listening to this interview, because we coach beginners. We coach beginners on how to make money basically through content sites. And so that's what James interviewed me about. And then off the camera, I started asking James, well, how did you get into this game? And he started showing me his sites, and he and I are kind of geeking out a little bit, looking at over his sites, and I'm giving him some ideas, exactly like I'd give any of you listening to this podcast today. And then I said, and he and I got really excited, and I said, mate, can you come along and share your story? So that's the background here, because
and here I am.
James's story. Anyone that's into sports is going to be super impressed. But even if you're not, you're going to hear James's elite level. So again, I'm going to build you up a little bit here, James.
Oh, okay.
But let's go back to the glory days. Let's call it. I know all you athletes. We know quite a few professional athletes. What was it? What's your background, and where did you start? Like I said to you that day off the camera, mate, how'd you get into this? Because you're not a professional website builder or anything like that. What's your actual profession?
So yeah, I was working as a strength conditioning coach within, I guess, professional rugby and rugby league. And I know Aussies love the rugby league even more than the Kiwis. But basically I started, I actually wanted to be like a surgeon growing up when I was going to medical school. Yeah. Too dumb to get into med school. Ended up going down the road of this and realized this is actually what I wanted to do. I'll try to keep it brief. But then through university, I started at the Warriors, the NRL team. Spent like 4 years there interning, working with the junior academy, stuff like that, and picked up I just said yes to every opportunity. So I was working with different clubs, various things that popped up through there. Then eventually got my first full-time role in Romania in 2015 with the club team there, and that turned to shit. That was so badly organized and all sorts of stuff. Back to New Zealand after 7 months, and then managed to land the Kiwi Ferns, so the New Zealand Women's Rugby League team. And then we ended up winning the NRL nines against the Aussies. And then we beat the Aussies in the Anzac Test that year as well. That was 2016. Then got the job here in Austin, actually, for the Major League Rugby. So that's the new big rugby competition here in the States. So that was the first year, which was the pilot year. So that was kind of like seeing how it was all going. And then the first year of the Major League Rugby I was involved in. And then got the call up to do the Romania national rugby team for the World Cup. When was the World Cup? I can't remember, 2019. But they ended up getting disqualified after I signed the contract before getting over there for fielding ineligible players and all sorts. And so I was like, okay, I'll go back to Romania. It won't be such a shit show because it was national team. It was still a shit show, but ended up doing the 15s team, which was cool, and then also trying to qualify the sevens for the Olympics as well. And then COVID hit around beginning of 2020. I was actually in France at the time with one of the teams, and we had to get an emergency flight back. And then from there, it was basically contract ended because COVID. And then we were stuck in Romania from April through to December because we couldn't get flights back to New Zealand because it was crazy. And that's pretty much when I found my way online.
Yeah, because guys, that's the important point in this story. So as you can see, and anyone can appreciate, whether you're not into sports or not, but just to put in context for our overseas listeners, rugby and rugby union and rugby league in this part of the world, like in Australia and New Zealand, is a big thing, right? And anyone that's into those sports, if they just heard what James has achieved in that space, would be sitting there going, okay, this guy is fully dedicated to the sports career as a strength and conditioning coach for national and elite rugby teams.
To put it into perspective how dedicated, I remember thinking when I was first starting, I didn't care about the money. I told myself over, I don't care about the money. All I want to do is coach. I'll make $50,000 a year and just coach. I don't care. And then you get to a point where that's not sustainable.
Yeah. And let's mention here, James, too, like your wife, Mona, just to put it in perspective. So you all got the picture in your heads, right? So, because remember, these guys are so dedicated. They're full-time athletes. They're not working online. They've never been online at all. They've never tried making money online. So Mona, I've got it written down here. She's a South African professional athlete. She's actually an athlete. She's represented South Africa. She's a 6-time karate world champion. She's represented at CrossFit, but also another really big thing if you're into sports, Mona is a Commonwealth Games medalist for Olympic weightlifting. Okay. Now, again, if you're into sports, the Commonwealth, you overseas people probably don't realize, but the Commonwealth Games in this part of the world, in the Southern Hemisphere, is a big thing. And anyone who's an Olympic Olympic weightlifting and a medalist in that sport, that is like, I guess, as a kid growing up, that's kind of like, wow, okay. So I'm looking at these two going, okay, these guys are just full on in my mind. I'm a bit of a pleb here, James. Sorry, the guru, and you know what it's like in our cultures, like in New Zealand and Australia, people like yourselves and your wife are just like, oh man, full-time athletes, and we know what you give up. So now, and some of you might be in that space, or you might be in the military. We know we've got a lot of military people, same sort of thing, or lawyers or professionals, or any one of you listening, you've probably full on in your role, and you're listening to this podcast, you think about transitioning over to earning online income. All right. So this is why I've asked James to come along, because this is where the story gets really interesting. And you can see he's a young guy, and here you are. We're now at this point, you've trained all your life as a professional, and you presumably you're hanging out with professional athletes. You and your wife's whole world at this point is revolving around sports and conditioning training and all that sort of stuff. So, that's a pretty full-on thing. But then all of a sudden, you're stuck in Romania. There's this thing called COVID. So this is back in when COVID first started. And I'm probably guessing you're thinking, I know we won't swear on the podcast here, James, but you're probably thinking, far out, Brussels sprout, what the heck are we going to do here? Professional athletes, our world's just stopped. So what did happen at that point for you? You're stuck in this presumably an apartment in Romania. That's a bit of a auspicious start to the world, isn't it? What the hell happened then? Like, how the hell did you go from there to earning the sort of money that you are now online?
Yeah, so I'll preface it by saying I was earning some money on the side through, I guess you call it freelancing or contracting to another site I was writing wasn't writing content for them. I was reviewing research for like their monthly membership magazine kind of thing. I still am to this day.
Oh yeah, so
that
using your expertise already to do research work for a website
for another sports science company.
For another
Basically,
sports
they do like a monthly magazine for coaches of a roundup of the latest research. And I've been writing here and there on the side for different sites. That's kind of what you do as a strength conditioning coach anyway. But I didn't know you could kind of make money from blogging. Like in the past, so back in the day, before you kind of made everything for SEO, you used to be able to follow your favorite bloggers. I don't know if you used to back in the day, but like I follow my favorite fitness bloggers. I'd have like an RSS feed of all their latest blog posts, had nothing to do with SEO. And so that's what I wanted to get into that. That was maybe over 10 years ago. And I've tried my hand at it a few times, sucked at it. I used to suck at writing. I've almost failed school and stuff because I couldn't write. Like,
that's like me. All right, cool. So did everyone hear that? So James just said, even though he's writing for these guys, he sucked at writing. So that's a good thing to hear, James. That's what we want to hear. Yep.
It wasn't until through, I think, my master's year at uni that I actually really started to develop the skill, and then I started writing more online. But at the time, during the beginning of COVID, I don't know how I came across it. I know I remember I was going to start trying to drop ship because that was like the big thing at the time.
Yep.
So I was like, I set up a site to try drop ship magnetic eyelashes. And
of all you don't look like an expert on magnetic eyelashes.
Unfortunately not. So that didn't last like a week. And then I don't know how I came across blogging and I was like, what, you can make money doing this? And I did a course similar to what you present there, Matt. And ended up just going down that road and be like, oh shit, okay, you can make money doing the stuff that I'm kind of already doing. And then the whole world opens. You're like, okay, people are actually making a lot of money doing this. And you realize that when you last search like best blender for apartment kitchen or whatever, that you clicked on someone's affiliate link and made the money. And then you realize that no one's actually tried the stuff. And then you're like, okay, now the whole internet's a lie. I realize now. So that's pretty much how I went down that road. And it kind of just snowballed from there. Just from interviews like these, I just started learning more and more and more. I kind of dove, I guess, jumped in with both feet and then just went down that rabbit hole.
And what was one of the first, well, actually, let's ask about the Sweet Science of Fighting website. That's would you describe that as your personal passion site? Is this where, is that, you've built that yourself, that particular one? So we'll talk about your other one in a minute. But did you start that one first before you bought the Lift Big, Eat Big?
Yeah, I did. Well, before that one, I had a pet bunny website. That was like my very first website. And that was still there. That still makes like $15-20 a month. I don't know how.
Perfect. So that was your learner site. You had a website. Yeah,
that was my learner site.
Okay. So did everyone hear that? Particularly in our community, you know how we get you to start on a small passion site? Are you passionate about pet bunnies, or it just happened to be a cool keyword?
We had a pet bunny, so it was perfect. I could take pictures. I even published a Kindle book from it. I turned the blog post into a Kindle book on Amazon. So I'm an author of a bunny book. It's not under my name, but And then eventually decided to apply that to something that I actually didn't typically know something about because I got bored of writing,
about bunnies and stuff. Okay, so actually, James, that's pretty important because you're possibly one little thing that I did want to, and it brings up an interesting point, and I'll ask it now. You actually do enjoy writing about your chosen passion or sport or professional career, which is obviously strength conditioning coaching. So I guess in a way that obviously puts you at an advantage, but that's the point of this podcast, guys. This interview with James is to show you that if you've got expertise, knowledge in a particular niche, you can use it to create a money-making website. So for you, it's interesting looking back, like I guess looking at your journey. You started with a pet bunny site, not really passionate about it, but it was fun. You learnt on that. Still makes you $15 to $20 a month to this day, just ticking along. But then you started the one that you are already, like that's your professional background, Sweet Science of Fighting, strength and conditioning coaching, right? For fighters. So, and I should mention too, James is actually like you're into BJJ, jiu-jitsu and stuff so it back to front, and plus being a professional coach in that space. So when you first started that site, was it pretty easy to start for you?
I don't know if it was pretty easy to start. It was just more applying what I'd done. So I bought the domain between jobs. Obviously, if people know, professional coaching is the most volatile damn career in the world. So I was between jobs. I wrote an article. It was in 2018. Still knew nothing about SEO. I just wrote it, and it just happened to be getting like 100 visits. I don't know. It was getting quite a few visits, and I was just kind of sitting there. So I was like, okay, I'll start building it out. And I just started researching topics, and I tend to typically just write topics like I go down a rabbit hole on in terms of research. So I'll go into like Google Scholar, and if there's like a main topic, I'll look at everything. I'll basically write a literature review on the topic, all reference and everything, just for my own. Like I can refer back to it for things, but then also just ranks really well because I'm linking out to like 25 journals.
And you're passionate and it's real. Like obviously, like you said, did everyone hear what James just said? He almost wrote this article for himself. And being in the niche, guys, if you're in a passion niche, this is where you're going to win big time, because it's a no-brainer for Google to recognize that's real content and that's seriously helpful to someone. And so you inadvertently are creating this real asset. So when you first started that site, and I guess James, you and I should also think, who's listening to this podcast, that there's also total, complete beginners of this. They're sitting there going, hang on, how the hell is he actually making money? The site, should we mention how it makes money? Just mention like what's the main way that it's monetized, that site?
Through affiliate and then through my own digital products, and the digital products are now done through a membership instead of one-off sales. So just affiliate and that, and then I just actually, after our chat the other day, I've got a call later this week with a company for sponsorship. So we'll see how that goes too.
Because what I suggested to James was, with a great site like this, it's real and it's all about strength and conditioning coaching, he can get direct sponsorship off product manufacturers in the athletic niche, which is exactly how Liz and I have done it over the years. We've owned very similar websites. We've owned websites in these same sorts of sports, but we're not professional coaches ourselves. I was saying to James, the main way that we used to monetize those, because they're only kind of relatively small traffic for us. They were about 10,000 visitors a month. But we had a really specific niche loyal following, just like James does. And we just went round to all the big players not sports players, to the companies that sell products that we used to review, and we'd say, hey, we've done reviews of your products on our website. Do you want to, we've got lots of eyeballs reading those specific reviews. Do you want to be an actual sponsor on our website? And we'd have what's called gold, silver and bronze packages, just really simple little packages. And then for that, we would promote them. We'd give them an ad on the front page, and we'd send them off. We'd feature them on the associated Facebook page, and do an email out to the list that we were building on what was essentially quite a small website, just 10,000 visitors a month. And it made great money ticking along. And that's what I see when I look at your site. So for you, as you built this, in essence, though, to go back, what you've done, you just started posting really helpful content around strength and conditioning coaching that people would come along and read, and then basically you'd have either ads or affiliate products initially there. So what are some of the products, like boxing gloves, and if you reviewed
rash guards? Well, I've got my own rash guards and shorts now because I partnered with the company. So I basically partnered. They've been trying to get in contact with me for ages. And obviously, when you get a lot of inbound emails, you just kind of ignore them. And then they got in contact with one of my coach writers, and he put me blah, blah, blah. And then I talked to them on the phone, and they're like, okay, we want to, they want to kind of do something together. What would be the thing that I would want from them? I was like, I've always wanted my own gear. And he's like, okay, we can do that. Just straight off, we can do it. Awesome. It's like, sweet. So I've got my own branded gear with them, and I just get a cut.
So this is awesome, guys. This can be the journey. This is where I think James is at the stage. And I'm speaking to a listener here, James. Sorry, I really should be speaking to you as well, shouldn't I? But I think you're at the stage here where this is what really caught my attention the other day when you and I were chatting, and I kind of couldn't help myself. I went and had, I went and had a good look around your site, and I'm kind of reverse engineering it a little bit and going, okay, you're at the interesting stage here where you're going to start getting sponsors. And that's why I mentioned to you, try the sponsorship idea in this particular niche. It can work really, really well, because so you've built this. And I want to say big congratulations. You've built this site like just really well. And because as you've gone along, so you start out writing the articles yourself, obviously that's not sustainable. And we can all see when we jump on your site now. So did you pretty quickly figure out to get these other writers on with you, and they're expert writers? And how did you find them?
Yes, I think so. Mainly through my own network, because I just know I just have a pretty good network of coaches around the world and all sorts of different stuff. And then, but funnily enough, the biggest thing has been the podcast for growing my network with them. Like the podcast has been the best thing that's happened to the site, just for bringing coaches in and like networking and growing that way. So that was another way I brought people in to write about the expertise. And then I actually found a writer on Fiverr. It was where I found my first writer, and it's because I could search by I didn't have to search like content writer or SEO content writer. I searched martial arts writer. So I got someone who actually coaches and practices martial arts, and I brought him on. He's on Fiverr. Fiverr's been my best for everything so far. I don't know how. And he lives in Bulgaria, but he's now with me, I guess, full time. So I pay him monthly, and he gives me a certain amount of articles. I've had like thousands of dollars worth of gear sent to him for free, which he loves because he gets to test them out and he gets all the gear, all that stuff out there. So that's been really, really, really good. That's been awesome. So he does all the product reviews for me that I don't want to do. So I do like the jiu-jitsu stuff, but because I'm not a striker and he's a striker, he complements my knowledge perfectly. So then he does all that stuff with the boxing gloves and things. And then he also writes the articles that I don't want to write. Like I don't want to sit there and answer basic non-training questions or martial art versus martial art. Like I don't care about that. It takes me too long and is boring. Yeah. So he writes that stuff, and then I write the training stuff.
And how much does he charge for an article? What are you paying for an article generally?
Right now, I pay him $800 a month for. Well, I can't. It depends. It varies on the article because we just assign them points based on like how comprehensive they are. Like a basic how-to article, whatever, would be like 1 point, but then like a big roundup post would be like 1.5 points. If that makes sense. Then it's like 20 points total in the month. So if you divide 800 by 20, it's like $40. Is it 40? Yeah, like 40. Let's say $40 on average.
$40 on average for an article written by an industry expert. Who complements James's writing. So guys, if you're an expert, I wouldn't advise that you plan out your life around being the full-time writer on your own content site, because you're just going to max out. So you need to leverage it. And this is what James has done really well. He's gotten in other experts because he knows, like anyone listening, if you're an expert, you're probably going to, like James, you're going to know other experts or other athletes or whatever it is. You bring them in. But not only that, you just heard it wasn't even through James's network. He just went to Fiverr and found the best writer who happens to complement, like is literally, at James's level, but just in a very slight sub niche. Did you hear that? He's a striker. Okay. So it's a little like talk about sub niche, expert on Fiverr as your writer. And for $40 an article, James has now got leverage and can just keep that site going. Now, this is really important because, if James just wanted to stick with that one blog, but like all of you listening, he's building a portfolio out, right, of these content sites. So let's have a quick chat then about Lift Big, Eat Big.
Yeah.
That's given you extra leverage as well, because what's the story behind that site? That's not one that you started yourself, is it?
No. So that's one we acquired September 2021.
Okay, so you bought
that. Yeah, I bought that one. So that was when I mentioned about following your favorite fitness bloggers back in the day. That was one of those sites, like from 2011. So it's 10 years old when I bought it.
Wow.
But it had been like completely neglected. Like it was on WordPress for like 2015, then apparently got like hacked or something. Then it was on Wix, and then it has like no SEO, no email. It just has nothing. But it's still got like 300 search volume for branded traffic a month. It still made $200 to $400 a month just from program sales from branded traffic.
Nice.
And then, but I just had nothing else. Like the site was a complete, like it was a piece of shit basically.
Mate,
and then,
well done. Did you hear, I got to James, this is the thing that we love teaching our clients about, is buying what we call diamonds in the rough. Exactly what you just described. That is absolute gold. They're classic. So this was a site that you'd personally followed from 2011, but it had just been totally neglected. So you knew it was the real deal. You're already making money in the niche, the same niche. So straight away, no matter what price you get it at, you can confidently make money, but it's still making $200 or $300 a month. So you just did a private approach to him then, or how did you get?
Yeah, because he posted on Instagram saying he's either going to shut it down or if someone wants to take over it to get in touch. I originally got in touch. I originally got in touch with them and was just asking. I can't remember what I was asking him. I wasn't going to buy it. I was just like saying good luck, blah blah. And then I got back to him a month later, being like, okay, actually, I think I want to buy this, and then ended up coming to a price. And then so, I mean, now I would have 5x the valuation.
Yep, easy
already, like easy. And there's that with that site, the revenue ceiling on that site is like 100 times higher than I think on Sweet Science of Fighting. Just because
why do you say that? What's
the market's so much bigger, and the demographic typically has more money than the fighting demographic.
Okay,
and the products you can sell are typically higher. I would say higher ticket compared to that the fighting niche as well.
All right, this is perfect, James, because, mate, like I said to you before you came on here, I'm going to share this with everyone. One of the other reasons I've recorded this podcast today, I reckon this is a moment in time. No public pressure or anything. This is the best way to coach someone, as you know, James, isn't it? Is to put a little bit of public pressure on you here. Seriously, I reckon this is the moment in time where one day you're going to look back at it, and it's good that we've got a record of this, of where these two sites are at. This is really, really interesting to me, because both you and I can see this is a pivot point already. So to recap what James has got, he's got a site that he's built out of his own passion and niche. He's already getting leverage by getting expert writers on there. Okay, and the best one turned out to be one he found on Fiverr anyway, where any of you can do, or Upwork, whatever. And then he's bought another website exactly like we teach. You'd swear you'd done our course, mate. And he bought exactly the strategy, our favorite numero strategy, which is actually this is how Liz and I got really successful very quickly in this. As I was explaining to you on your podcast, we'd go around and individually, privately approach people and see if they want to sell. So James kind of stumbled across that too, through his, just again, being passionate, and it was a right place, right time too, in that he knew the blog and it was a fallen angel. Like, it was just crap, basically. And the guy was going to close it down. So James just steps in and bought it. He's already 5x'd it. And here we are today. Tell us, between these two sites, how much money are you making now off these sites? What have you just hit recently?
So I guess through end of last year, beginning of this year, I hit 10K months, my first 10K months through there. So recently, we know the volatility, so it's a little lower now just because of some affiliate programs and stuff, but it's still 6, 7, depending on the month now. So obviously it's just kind of gone up and down. But, it's just a matter of just continuing to keep pumping content on those sites, because Lift Big Eat Big is monetized with display ads as well, because the traffic potential is like, again, 1,000,000 times greater than Sweet Science. So I'm just like, okay, I'll put display ads on there too, which brings in an extra like $1,300 a month currently.
Perfect.
And then obviously that can grow huge too. So I'm just kind of like building that out and just slowly adding content to that site, which is infinitely scalable because it's on fitness.
Perfect. Yeah. So this is a cool thing, James. You think just, what was it? 3 years ago, you're a newbie at this. And as your knowledge built, because you started your own passion site, you've seen the opportunity and been really smart with buying that other site and suddenly realizing, did everyone hear what James said? It's 10x or 100x the potential than his passion site, because it's such a bigger niche. And but you're just using the same skills now that you originally learned on the humble little bunny website that made you $15 a month. That is pretty cool.
And then I'm literally now the same strategies from Sweet Science on Lift Big Eat Big, because I've got my friend who's 2 times world's strongest man competitor. He does the strongman section on that site. And obviously my wife does the weightlifting. Yep. And then everything's the same. The monetization model is exactly the same. Programs, membership, community, affiliate. So it's just like same tech stack, everything.
So anyone listening to this, you got to realize this is what we talk about at our events and stuff. This is where life gets easier, not harder. The more knowledge you get, the more successful you get, you can just start to really leverage this up. This is why these are key digital. You think how you and your wife started out, James. And I should mention, James's wife, Mona, is part of that website now as well. So it's all just gotten easier. So you think you're professionally trained, both of you, in the field of elite sports, let's say, but now you've completely retrained in digital skills in less than 2 or 3 years, making pretty much, well, you're well and truly on your way to making a full-time income off this. And that's just as the side hustle or as it builds up. And you're going, yeah, sure, Matt, I want that as the full-time income, and then you're going to 10x it. But you've got a system now, or the knowledge to be replicating it, like you just said. That's brilliant. It's just the same skills, and you're just using your networks to grow it. But you've found this site that can probably go 100x because it's just such a big marketplace. Now, on that note, and I know people are thinking, oh, yeah, but I'm not going to go into this, the sports niche is massive, like we all know. But when I looked over your YouTube channel and stuff, really, like you said with the podcast or YouTube, guys, anyone listening, go and check out James's sites. We're not talking a lot of views here. I just know there's a couple of 100 views and stuff, but you've found that enough to launch these sites and to make 10 grand a month.
Yeah, well, most of it comes from Google anyway. So like Sweet Science gets like 130,000 people a month to it. And then Lift It Eat gets like 60,000 people a month to it. And that's growing. I started the YouTube a while ago for Sweet Science and kind of stopped because I hated having to set up a camera and all that stuff. Yep. And then I was like, okay, well, what's the easiest content that you can create where you don't have to do anything? And it's a podcast because someone else talks and you don't have to do anything. And so I'd publish the podcast. And then I already had a network of people I was going to bring. I had a list of people I knew I was going to bring on. And I just started with that, and then got recommended more and more people. And I've had some epic. I mean, I've had the Australian cricket strength conditioning coach on because he reached out to me through the site that I write for. He's like, "Oh, I saw those warm-up games that you're playing, and we did them with the Aussie cricket team before. I think it was the test match the other summer." I was like, oh, shit, that's awesome. Let's catch up over a chat. And then we chatted. I was like, hey, come on my podcast. So, stuff like that.
Sort of like what we've done here. You get chatting and go, oh, man, that's really cool. Hey, you should come and share your story with our audience. That's really cool.
Yeah. And there's like stuff like that. So just to help with bringing like other sports training methods into combat sports and what they do and stuff like that. And then,
So for you, can you just repeat, because all our guys can be super interested, so they've got a bit of a frame of reference in this sporting niche. Now, I want to reiterate something before James tells you the numbers, the traffic numbers again, because of his Kiwi accent. I reckon some people might not have heard them, James. I heard them, but you got to realize you got a bit of a Kiwi accent happening there.
Yep. It's happened a lot.
So put in context, to earn around 10 grand, every niche is different. This is a competitive niche, but there's the nice, you're in strength conditioning. What sort of traffic do you get to Sweet Science of Fighting, which is about strength and conditioning?
Right now, 130,000 a month.
Nice one. Well done, dude. That's from, okay. Anyone listening, should you be starting a site in your passion niche? That's from you, woe to go, 2 years, starting a website and doing podcasting with it as well down the track. We're getting expert writers on. Seriously, well done. That is really, really impressive, James. Mate, you're on a big winner here. I reckon long-term for someone like you, you're a young guy. I think I'm hoping for your sake, and I know all you athletes will be doing this. You and your wife have probably planned out the next 5 and 10 years. That's my biggest bit of advice. It's not just about making money online. You can, with results like that, I reckon the world's your oyster. And now let's go to, seriously, that just tells me straight away a lot about yourself. Okay. So really, really well done. Because I know what it takes to build a site like that. Let's now look at the site that you bought that, was 10 years old and stuff, but that's the one that's actually got the really big opportunity and you've only just started on it. What's the traffic on that one?
So last month was 75,000.
Well done. Okay. Even at that level alone, like you said, are you on Mediavine or whatever? Or
on Mediavine on there.
Good. Yeah, that's probably the best one there. And I think as you build that out, so I'm presuming because you do these, this industry really well now, like buying and selling websites and building content sites and stuff. I'm presuming you have a plan for a possible, there might be a nice exit somewhere down the track here, somewhere in the next 5 years too. A corporate could come in and buy both these sites. Or even just getting direct advertisers on there more, working directly with advertisers and things. I think there's lots and lots of opportunity, which I'm sure you've already.
There's so much. Yeah, there's way too much that I want to do, and just not enough money and time right now to do them. But I've got so many more ideas that, like, I want to do a spin-off YouTube channel for Sweet Science. That would be like, I've already talked to the person who's keen to do it. I haven't pulled the trick yet, which would be like predictions and previews of upcoming fights, and then having like sports books to sponsor the channel. But it'll be like a spin-off channel. And then I would like to do maybe another one that's more technique. So it's more like actual sports itself. So that's like 3 different channels. And but it's all under the same brand, just different colors.
So, well, on that note too, because I noticed when you, and anyone listening, when you go and look at James's site, you'll see, obviously you've done a renovation on the sites and you've got a standard way, because both the sites now look very similar. So there was that, I guess that would have helped. That's another thing we teach here at eBusiness Institute, how to renovate websites. And obviously that's just a nice platform now, and that would have helped with the traffic flow getting around to the, because it's really easy to navigate your sites and to look over the story. You've got lots of nice EAT signals, which is all about expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, right off your homepage even. It's a really nice layout that you've got on both the sites. And did you notice any immediate results on Lift Big, Eat Big when you renovated that homepage and you organized things on it? Or was that
I had to renovate the whole damn site because the site was so crap on Wix. So it was basically a full rebuild. But yeah, I mean, as soon as I started posting and getting this going, that thing just started increasing in traffic quickly. I mean, the biggest thing is as well, I mean, if anyone is an expert in their niche, like I've published research and stuff before. So I linked my Google Scholar profile to my website. I linked my research gate to it. I linked like anything and everything. And then obviously because I write it for a whole lot of other sites, all my author profiles all linked to those, or to Sweet Science and sometimes Lift Big, Eat Big, depending on the site and stuff like that. So all those things obviously help.
So I think one of the really powerful things you've done and the big advantage you have, because you are using your professional background now online, Google can see that, as can us as humans. Like, you know, when I look over your sites, you can't help but be impressed, you know, and you can see exactly what you just said within 30 seconds, 3 minutes. You know, you can start to look back and go, oh, wow, okay, these guys are the real deal. You trust it. In a way, you're sitting on the golden virtual assets these days going forward into the future, particularly with AI written content and stuff. Anyone that's into, you know, strength and conditioning coaching is going to love coming to your sites because they can trust it. It's as can Google. So, and now you're tying in the YouTube channel and podcasts and stuff. It's just, in a way, guys, any of you that want to do the big online content sites, you should watch. This is why I'm really excited about this interview, and so is James, because I think this is a moment in time where James has put the foundation work in and created, and he's at that tipping point where it's really going to start growing over the next 5 years, say, because it's exactly, he's set up, it's taken him 2 to 3 years to set up this kind of perfect virtual asset in Google and the customer avatar eyes. That's my gut feel so far. And I'm presuming that, you know, you can see it in your results. Like you just said, once that traffic starts taking off, typically in our experience, that's a really, really good sign. You know, did you hear, like what you said, that must have been pretty exciting when you renovated that crappy site that you bought. Are you okay to share how much you paid on that for that site? I don't know whether you said it.
No,
how much did it cost you?
$7,500. So it was basically, I got it. I mean, the domain itself was worth that at least, because the domain was 10 years old with DR30, like links from bodybuilding, CrossFit, like crazy stuff. God. All the big magazines. I was like, okay, sweet. And then plus, I got all the assets. I got all the training programs. I could just continue selling. I got all the graphics, and then the graphic designer reached out to me. Now he's my graphic designer so he redid my Sweet Science logo, did all my designs for my Grass and stuff. So I got him, and then I also got. I think that was it. Yeah.
Mate, that's why like private buyers can often be the best, especially on that when someone's had a site for 10 years or whatever and they're bored and it's got. So those of you that are brand new to this, what James has bought is an absolute bargain. He's bought this rundown site that most people would look at and go, that's just crap. It's totally run down. Like, James himself said it was SHIT, but underneath all that, when you know what you're doing, you realize there's actual literal gold sitting there. This is a diamond in a rough. And James very quickly, this is the perfect example of buying a diamond in a rough, polishing it up, So it is gleaming, and it's now, and it proofs in the pudding. This thing's just taken off pretty much straight away when James fixed it up. And
now it's worth more than,
what he's done.
It's worth more than 50, 60K now. I bought it for 7.5. So, I mean, and that's just the beginning, you know?
That's right. We're at the beginning of the journey. This is super, super cool. I think you can build this into something really big. Hey, so now that you look across these two, I can still see you're really passionate about your own site. But when you're just like a fun question, right? Which one do you like the most out of the two sites?
The Sweet Science one. That's my little baby.
Okay. All right. So that's the one, because I noticed you kept coming back to saying, I'm going to do this and that to it. But obviously, isn't it funny how our brains work? Yet you've got this lift big, eat big, which is probably going to be just, I guess, that's your commercial site. That's the one that's just going to make, it's going to go huge. It's just
that's the idea. It's hard though as well with that one because I inherited the site, like it came with the YouTube channel as well, which had like 5 point something or 6K subscribers, but obviously they subscribed for the previous person.
Yep.
And same with the Facebook page, it has 97,000 likes on Facebook, but it's all from the old owner. So when we post on it and stuff, it kind of like doesn't do well, or people aren't used to it. Like the YouTube doesn't do well because we just started another podcast show on there just to keep that going. But you know, different faces, different style, different information, doesn't quite gel. So we're just like, it's okay. Like the website is kind of all that matters, and that's kind of just icing on the cake just to have going.
Yep. So really the asset, the actual website asset that you bought is hugely valuable. You've already 5 or 6x your money straight away, but that's not what any of us here today are interested in. It's the actual underlying asset. I think everyone would agree listening to this right now. They're going, okay, yep, you're sitting on gold. That's the 5-year plan. That one, you just get into it. But isn't it interesting in your brain, you still love the niche one with the sweet science of fighting.
It's what's sports performance. You know, it's like my passion.
And what's going to be interesting is it's kind of like a little competition within your own organization of your portfolio sites. It'll be fascinating to see which one wins out, because my money might be on the sweet science of fighting. You don't know where that leads to. I bet your doors open that you never expected with that. And I'll laugh if that was the first one to hit the 7 figures. Let's see what happens over the next 5 years.
I want to sponsor some competitions eventually, and like turn it like a real big, like real world thing, and just go crazy with stuff like that. Build out like a big Twitter asset with it. Same with Lift Big, Eat Big. I'm building out a big Twitter asset with it.
Okay.
And just do the same thing. And I mean, Lift Big, Eat Big will be big and kind of have a place in strength sports and I guess general fitness, but it's harder to make I guess your own space within that area because it's just so big and everyone's in it. Versus combat sports, it's so small that you can make a big name in there. Well, I think that's where I think this is going to be a watch this space. Is why it's a fascinating moment in time. Let's see what happens over the next 5 years. Here you've got within your own portfolio of websites. Okay, you've got the original Bunny website, but you've got the 2 main ones that have floated to the top. Like in any portfolio website, guys, anyone listening to this, it's always the 80-20 rule. Out of your 10 websites, 2 will be the big winners. We've heard today James's personal story on growing 2 passion sites or sites from his professional background, which is sports. And we've seen how much they've grown in just 2 years to 10K a month. And it's going to be interesting. We've got the perfect example here of one that's somewhat of a micro niche within those niches, which is James's personal passion. And then also the more general weightlifting, Lift Big, Eat Big site, which is on the face of it, the one that could go really big, but it will be really interesting to see which one goes. And mate, either way, I think you're laughing. And I want to say a big thank you for coming along today and thank you for having me on.
Yeah, sharing your information. I can't wait to do. But James, I reckon we're going to have to do a yearly update on this and just and kind of everyone's going to want to get going for you, mate. And go, come on, let's see what these 2 sites, which one's going to win over the next 5 years. But mate, seriously, big thank you for coming along and sharing your story and what you've done there and helping to inspire a bunch of our community members and also anyone who's a professional trying to get online. And seriously, on that note, if you are brand new to this and you're a professional and you're trying to transition out of a traditional career, make sure you check out our free masterclass where we show you literally what James has done, which is how we buy, renovate, and also sell, but mainly buy and renovate websites so that you can transition out of your career. So big thank you, James, and we'll look forward to catching you up on our next podcast.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you very much for having me on, Matt.